Today we are looking at balancing your family and business life. How do we get a balance so that when you become successful in business, you don't lose your family, or you don't focus on building a family that the business will be struggling? How do we get a balance? I'll introduce my guest, and then when we come back from the break. My guest today is William Burckson. William Burckson is an anointed minister of the Gospel of the Lord Jesus Christ and a head pastor of Kingdom Expressions Ministries worldwide. He is a former banker and currently provides business consultancy and support services to many organizations. He serves on the board of some organizations and some companies as well. William Burckson is the author of 3 books: Prosperity Decoded, Comfort is an Enemy, and Rule. He is married with 3 wonderful daughters. Pastor Burckson, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
How was church yesterday?
Amazing. An amazing time.
It's a business program and we have a pastor in the studio. Interesting. I looked at your tagline, Raising Rulers, Subduing the Earth. Are business people included in the rulers you are raising?
Thank you very much for the question. And let me say good morning to your cherished listeners. It's a great joy to be here today and to share, in this powerful conversation you've been having every Monday. Thank you very much once again for the opportunity. Yes, business people are a critical part of the rulers we're raising, particularly because God has different callings on the lives of people. And unfortunately for many people, the moment they sense a call into the ministry, they don't take time out to find out what kind of ministry. Everybody erroneously thinks that ministry is pulpit ministry, and so there are many people who God has called to be, major players in industry and the marketplace, who don't have any form of support or guidance or training as Christians, to be able to be effective in the marketplace or in industry. And as part of our calling, we are not only supposed to raise pulpiteers, but we are supposed to raise men and women who will be relevant in prosecuting the agenda of God's kingdom in the marketplace and in industry. So they are very much a part of the rulers we're raising.
You've had a lot of impact on some people. A lot of people that come into your circles have been greatly influenced and impacted. Is this deliberately done to achieve this purpose?
Yes, because the kingdom of God is bigger than the church. And so if we become narrow in our thinking, in reducing everything to what goes on in church, we would lose our relevance in the world, and we won't be significant contributors to advancing God's purposes in His kingdom. And so we are very deliberate and intentional in reaching out to empower people along specific lines of their callings and giftings. So we are very intentional about it. Yes, we deliberately reach out to train people along several lines to help them contribute to the advancement of God's kingdom in the earth.
Great. It's easier defining a successful business, one that is making profit and all that, and expanding and employing more people. What would you call a successful family?
Thank you very much for that question. Success is a very tricky word. Loosely put, you would say success is the progressive achievement of a goal. Once you are making progress towards a goal, an end, or an objective, you can say you are successful as relating to that goal that you want to achieve. But the trouble then is, what if the goal is wrong? So if the goal is wrong, then it doesn't matter how fast you achieve it or how well you achieve it. But then it means you are running very fast in the wrong direction. What we need to do in defining a successful family is to go back, all the way back to the original revelation of man. In line with the law of first mention, man was mentioned in Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, when God conceived man and created man. And when that happened, God did that and put the two of them together, male and female, he created them. So man came in two streams, male and female. So originally you can see that the concept had to do with family. God had a family in mind. Okay, so, but it wasn't just a family he had in mind, he had a purpose. And so once we are able to define or discover the purpose for your family, then now you will be able to determine whether you are successful in prosecuting that purpose or not. Without discovering the purpose, success can be very loose. It is not just the accumulation of things. So you can be full of things. You can have a lot of things and not be successful in God's view, according to God. I don't know whether that works. But,
but many times people also push an argument that if you have a goal or a vision, then the things would automatically come. So when there are things that are supposed to be tools, like cars, houses, a lot of money, that are supposed to be tools, when they are coming, aren't they an indication that you have a vision you are pursuing, and then these things are coming to support that vision?
You see, there again, we need to be sure that vision or purpose is in tandem, is consistent with God's original plan and purpose. Because a thief can have a vision to steal. And once he succeeds in stealing, depending on the booty he got, if you meet him a week later and you see him with cars and see him with a house and see him with all the trappings of wealth, you may think he's successful. But is that consistent with our values? Can somebody become rich through his, robbery efforts? And will the society accept that person is successful? But over and above that, is the person successful in the eyes of God? I always go back to God because He is the creator of man, and so we can't really define man, define success, define anything without reference to the manufacturer. So just the presence of the things is not an indicator, sure indicator that you are pursuing a right vision, because you can have the right vision and use wrong methods. I don't think we should use just things as an absolute indicator of whether we're doing well or not. There are many people who have a lot of things and are suicidal. Many people who have a lot of things and are dying inside, So that the presence of the things alone cannot be an indicator that somebody is in good health, mentally, physically, spiritually, and any other way.
Is it possible to have a balanced business and family life?
Thank you very much for that question. It's there again. It's also a tricky question. You see, because the whole phraseology, balance between family and business, it is difficult to achieve. And I say this for a reason. Let's go back, to the beginnings. When God created man, in verse 26 of Genesis chapter 1, the concept of man was unveiled. God gave us a disclosure of what he had in his mind. Our plan is to make man in our image and likeness, and our plan is to have that man have dominion over the earth. So that's a blueprint. That's the pattern. That's the vision for man. That's the reason for man. That's the why for man. And then in executing that plan, God started with a male man. So God started with a male man, planted a garden, and put the man there. That's the work of man. So man's orientation was work first. Man didn't start with family on his mind. Man started work first. And that's why every male, I'm talking about the male man now, every male is wired to work. It's such a challenging situation. Then later on, God, in looking at the scope of work he had given man and the enormity of it, said, it's not good for man to be alone. I will make for him a help suited for him so that, he could be helped. And so the blessing of a woman came in when man was already facing his job. And it's interesting that God brought the woman into the work where man was. And it so happened that the residence of man and the work of man and the family of man had a certain harmony. It was all integrated. So I truly believe that there probably is no such thing as work or business and family balance, but rather business and family harmony, business and family integration, because that's the ideal concept God set up in the garden. The family was prosecuting a certain agenda. And what was the agenda? Managing the earth for God. So if managing the earth for God was the goal or the mission of the family, then work is just a vehicle to achieve that. Without that clear vision that this family is here to do something for God, the family may see the business as an obstruction. The family may see the business as taking the male away, or the reverse can also happen. So I think the most important thing in helping us achieve integration, business and family integration, or business and family harmony, is first and foremost to discover or identify the purpose for that particular family. Once that purpose is crystal clear, then everybody, the wife or the husband, whoever we're talking about, sees themselves as a participants of that, the prosecution of that goal or that vision or that purpose, which is crystal clear. In that case, both the family and the business are seeking to achieve one goal.
So are you saying that if I want to start a tie and dye business or water business,
yes,
I should check first with the purpose of the family before doing that business?
Okay, so let's tackle it this way. There is only one purpose for every human being on the earth. I don't know whether that sounds controversial, but that's the truth. There is only one purpose, and what is it? Let us make man in our image and after our likeness, and let them have dominion. Dominion means let them manage the earth. Let them take care of the earth. So that is the master vision, master purpose, master goal for every human being on earth. God brought us here for one assignment: manage the earth for me, take care of it for me. Now, we can't all do it on the macro level. And so God gave everybody individual contributions to the master goal. So that tie and dye business you're talking about will be a strand which will also contribute, because once you become successful in that, you can use that success as a tool of influence to help manage and govern the earth for God. The problem is this. the current civilization we're using, the current civilization we have subscribed to, contradicts the original plan of God set up for family and for business. As I told you, in the garden itself was the business, and the family was in the garden, the residence was in the garden. After the Second World War, an interesting phenomenon happened. All the males were recruited, almost all of them, were recruited to go help fight. But the factories had to be manned. And so women were drawn from the homes. Women were partnering their husbands in prosecuting the purpose and vision of the family, but they had to fill the factories to produce the necessities of life that can keep the society running. And the interesting thing that happened was, after the war, when the males came back, they couldn't all be kept in the army because the war was over. The males had to now come and struggle or fight with the women who had now been well on their way in working in the factories. And then they came back, and there's this, struggle between, who takes what. Because the woman now is very good in doing what the man used to do. That introduction into the family unit did something to us that we've not recovered from. And I think until we really interrogate that and compare it to God's original plan, we will struggle with the family. And the results we have had so far, where we have very successful executives who have very, troubling family story to tell, very successful executives who have not been able to replicate that business success into the family in terms of holding the union together, in terms of raising responsible children and citizens, for the nation in which they are, is an example, is a clear evidence of something we are getting wrong in how we are handling both business and family.
So, before that, a lot of Christians are listening to us. I'm getting a lot of feedback. People are sending me messages. How do we correct that?
I think we can't just do that at a go. The reason is this, that, for example, if you have a wife who is working in an organization, you have your children going to school, and let's say you have started a business, and so your wife goes to work, comes back exhausted. You come to fight the jackals in your industry or in your business. You come back home exhausted. The children go to school, they come home exhausted. And then here you are calling that, I want to balance, I've come home, so I want to give my best, but you're tired. You see, the currency for work or business, family integration or harmony is energy. But usually many people are worn out in what they're doing out there. How do we correct this? The males must take a huge responsibility in this, because originally God put the garden in the hand of the male man and brought the woman to help him do the work. There has to be a strong shift, a very deep shift in our minds. First and foremost, in the area of economics. As long as the males think it's a... I hope I won't get slacks for this, but the male must be male in economics as well. Providing for the family is primarily the role of the male. Primarily.
He has to have plenty money.
Yes. And that's the reason why he's in business. That's the reason why he's doing what he's doing. So another school of thought says, even if you say work-life balance, the person is working so hard so that he can keep the family. And so if the family understand why daddy is out there doing what he's doing, the family becomes like his cheerleader, like the people who are cheering him on in winning out there, so that we can together fulfill the vision of the family. And so a workaholic will still say, the end result of this working is to ensure that my family, is able to achieve its vision and goal that we have set for ourselves. All I'm saying is that it's very difficult because of how far we have come into this civilization, which is tearing the family apart instead of uniting and building it. And for this to happen, the male must take a strong or embrace the responsibility of winning back, the finances of the family. The male must take responsibility. For now, you can get help from your wife, you can get help from your spouse, but I think there has to be a vision that we are progressively working towards, that ultimately my wife wouldn't have to. She may, but she doesn't have to work in an organization, but could join in the family business or whatever it is, the assignment that the family has discovered for themselves, so that ultimately we can bring the family into it.
That's destructive.
But nothing succeeds like that. Disruption is the new definition for success, isn't it?
Pastor Burckson, you in your opening, you were talking about managing the earth for God as the primary vision for man. A young businessman has started life with a family. How would he or she know that I am managing the earth properly for God? What are some of the indicators that will show that I am in charge? I am managing the earth for God.
As I said, managing the earth for God is a master plan, master vision. It's on a very macro level. Your business will be like a micro in contributing to the overall management of the earth. That business guy, who has started, first and foremost, must come up with products and services that adds value to life and living.
Okay.
You shouldn't be in business trying to look for the shortest way to get money into your pocket. You must be delivering more value than you are taking from the society. That's the first way of contributing to life and living on the earth.
And to pushing this thing too far. You're saying that now we need to give more value than we are taking. That's too harsh.
Nobody has made a significant success. Nobody has made significant impact. Nobody has become a sustained, influential or relevant person in life and society who is taking out more than he's putting in.
Is that to suggest it's a secret of success?
I struggle to believe there are secrets, because the challenge is that even when we know it, we don't do it. So there's no point keeping it a secret. But that's the truth. That's the truth. The truth is that you must deliver more value than you are taking out of the system. And so if that business guy accepts this responsibility, it will influence the types of products he puts out there. He won't be putting in fakes to get money. He will be giving services that looks after the well-being of the clients, rather than just shoddy, lousy service just to get the money. That will be the first thing. Once he's able to come up with products and services that deliver more value, gradually as his business begins to work, he has staff. His influence over the staff in helping them also give off their best and become their productive best is a way of helping manage the earth for God. Number two, he also has customers he's serving. that group of people, his customers, are a constituency he can influence with his service and his product. He can be able to transmit his personal values, which is consistent with God's values. He can transmit it to his customers. He can transmit it to his staff. He can transmit it to his suppliers. So the entire value chain can be influenced by one businessman who is in proper and accurate alignment with God. And that's what we need to go for.
Is a struggled business an indication that you've missed it, or you're not in line with God's plan? Because from what you're saying, or let me say it this way, you're not giving more value than you're taking.
We need to also understand that we are operating in an imperfect context. Since the fall of man in the Garden of Eden, the earth has been corrupted in a way. The systems of the earth are all corrupted in a way. And so even when you take delivery of the perfect will of God for you, you will be operating, executing, prosecuting that will in an imperfect environment. And that introduces conflict.
Is this imperfect environment what God wants us to correct?
Perfectly. That is what God wants us. Because even if you look at the words God used, subdue the earth, in giving man his mandate, subdue it, dominate, rule, replenish, manage it. What that suggests is that we need to be able to exercise mastery over our context. And I think that has been the biggest challenge of the African. We've not been able to come to a place where we are controlling our environment. We've not been able to master our context. Usually the reasons why people give or the reasons people give us, the factors of their inability to do well in life or to succeed, many of those reasons, they pointed to the environment. I didn't have money, I didn't have this, I didn't have that, I didn't get help. So we've not been able to master our environment. And so for a business person who is struggling, we can't say just because you're struggling, it means you've missed God or you're not delivering the value. It's a process. So you can start today, but you need to be able to conquer your space. That's the whole point. You can have credible business, credible products, credible services, but you are operating in an imperfect environment. And so you need to conquer. You may have competitors. You may have, challenges with financing. You may have challenges with even being able to reach out to your clients or your customers. But all this is part of the process, of conquering that imperfect environment, so you'll be able to provide valuable service and products to your customers.
If you're in business and you're doing well, and the person is listening to you and realizes that, no, this business I'm doing, even though I'm doing well, I'm making a lot of money, it's not in line with God's vision, the ultimate vision of managing the earth. What should this person do?
There are two key things. The first is that it is possible to do well in an area that you have not been called. Usually people say, okay, follow your passion. It's great. It's a good place to start. But your passion alone may not be a sufficient indicator of what God wired you for. You can be passionate about something that God may not want you to do that. That's Paul was very passionate about killing Christians, but that wasn't the purpose of God for his life. So the fact that you are passionate about something is not a sole indicator. It could be a contributor, but you don't make your final judgment on where to spend your life just because you're passionate about something. You need to do a lot more than that. So it is possible to succeed in something and miss God. Let me put it differently. Jesus says, what will a man give in exchange for his soul? He says, if you gain the whole world and lose your soul. But that means it's possible to gain the world and lose your soul. It's possible to make progress in an area that you were not wired for. Because success, sometimes is a science. There are things to do to get results. And we can't just use results to determine that we are right. and so that's one side, that yes, you can be making progress and it may not be what God has called you to do. Okay, so now you know that maybe there is a dissatisfaction in my heart, even though I have all the cars, I have all the houses, so as you begin to do an introspection, as you begin to align yourself or engage God a bit more, to find out what more could your life be doing, what more could you do, what is it that your life could touch, then you could now use this success you have achieved as a tool, to now touch lives. There are two indicators we use. Whatever God calls you to do touches two things. It touches people, number one, and it touches places. That business must positively touch people and touch places. And so you can't have a state-of-the-art business. You can't have a very plush, luxurious business and your immediate surroundings dirty, gutters, choked, and all. No, you can't do that. Your business is supposed to touch a place and it's supposed to touch people. So once you discover that maybe what I'm doing may not be what God has called me to do, the first thing is, how did you even come by that? Why are you coming to that conclusion? It means there probably is some dissatisfaction within you. There probably is, some uneasiness within you, and you need to interrogate that further. You need to engage God a bit more. You need to be a bit more intense about, trying to find out what exactly it is that God really wants you to do. And once you find that out, then from where you are, you can begin to make the necessary adjustments and shifts for your life to really impact people and not just become an accumulator of things.
Apart from your business producing things that will touch people and touching the earth or places, are there other indicators that you're on the right path?
Maybe that's where your family will come in. If the success you are chalking in business is at the expense of peace at home, is at the expense of helping your spouse plug into their giftings and callings and graces. If the success you are chalking in your business is at the expense of mentoring your children and becoming a pattern or a template or a guide for them, then you will begin to get feedback from that side of your life. Your family will begin to give you feedback that it seems something is amiss here. And as I'm saying, what we need to be striving for is family business harmony. So once you begin to have symptoms of disharmony, symptoms of non-alignment, because if family and business aligns, then you'll be able to really, plow through whatever it is that you're doing. Some people can be very happy at home, but because they are not making it at work, they are stressed. And some too can be doing very well at work, but because home is, like a den of wolves, they are also stressed. But if we are able to align or integrate both business and family, then you will have this. You won't have these symptoms of dissatisfaction, going off. So I think we can use the feedback we get from family to see whether we are non-aligned or aligned, because the vision, the goal is to align the family and the business.
It means this should, if a young man is coming up, this should inform him of the kind of partner he should propose to.
Absolutely. It's so, I always go back to the beginning because that's where everything started. Adam was busy working before God brought the woman to him. And when the woman came to Adam, the woman saw Adam already engaged in something. In other words, the wife was brought to Adam as a tailor-made help, a tailor-made blessing, a tailor-made capacity, to power the man in becoming all that God has ordained for the union to become. So, for example, if you have not found out where you are heading, if you've not found out where you want to spend the rest of your life, why do you need a woman to help you get there? Get where? You must first know where you are going to know that I need help on this journey. So if you don't know where you're going, if you don't know what you want to spend your life on, if you don't know what the rest of your life should be, the direction you are heading, you are not ready for a woman. Because a woman is coming to help you. So that together a union is established, a union is forged that also reaches out to do something in contributing to God's big plan. So the choice of a mate, and I think we should reverse it. It shouldn't just be the male choosing the woman, but the woman even accepting the proposal of a mate should be, where are you heading? What am I coming to do in your life? Because this thing is more than just, exchanging pleasantries. You are beautiful, you are handsome. No, it goes beyond that. So I think both of them must know that there is an assignment, there is a purpose, there is a goal, a vision that by coming together as a team we want to achieve. Without that goal, that vision, that purpose, the team is visionless and they will be reckless in the way they live.
I'm informed that you're having a program coming Saturday about on singles and married sermon.
Yes.
Haven't we had enough of these? What new contribution is this program bringing to the body of Christ? How is it going to help businesses and families to be integrated?
Thank you very much. I think your question will be justified if divorce rates are declining. Your question will be justified if we're having less children on the streets. Your question will be very justified if we are having discipline in our society. Your question will be very justified if sanitation is no longer a problem for our society. All these things are the breakdown of the whole.
So, sanitation, what has that got to do with singles and marriage seminar?
Fantastic. The home is the basic unit of society. So, as goes the home, so goes the society. And the home is powered by a male and a female. And without the male and the female embracing their functions in that union, we will have chaos in the home. And that chaos in the home will spill out over their borders, their private home, onto the streets of the society. And that's what we are all dealing with or grappling with right now. So we have not had enough. The challenge is this, that there are many programs, interventions that is not targeted at curing the ills. So we can have, maybe you're asking this question because you're all over the place. The whole societies are washed with marriage seminars and conferences, and we need to now begin to interrogate what is the content, what material are we feeding the people with, because it's like people like priests.
So let's start with you. What content are you feeding the people with?
Fantastic. This current one, we've done several, but this upcoming one, we're focusing on what we call the Big Five. And this is faith, money, sex, in-laws, and children. These 5 areas are the areas that usually engender a lot of strife, conflict, and disagreements. For example, let me just pick the issue of faith. Faith just goes beyond I believe. Faith is what holds the union together. And there are many, many families. The husband believes to the north and the wife believes to the south. And once we can't agree in our value, once we can't agree on what binds us together, once we can't agree on the value that underpins the entire relationship, we've just set ourselves up to fail. And if people don't take time to really investigate that, there are a lot of things we do casually. But what we are trying to do is letting people take a break to look at these issues objectively. And beyond that, we are providing, independent pairs of eyes to help the people see. We are bringing fresh perspective to the conversation. We are helping people see the role these things are playing. And sometimes people are dealing with symptoms and they don't even know the cause. They are trying to solve a problem they don't know or understand what it is. And that's the difficulty. If you don't understand the problem, how do you prefer solutions to it? So that's what we're doing, bringing fresh perspectives, helping have deeper conversations on these potentially conflict-prone areas in our marriages.
I'm sure some of my listeners would want to know, so where is this program and not the time? Let's quickly do that, and then I'll ask some few questions.
Okay. It's taking place at Kingdom Expression Center, South Oyarifa. It's about 300 meters away from the Ankonam Junction, on the Adenta Ebri Road.
What time?
At 3 p.m.
On Saturday?
20th, yeah, 20th July, 3 p.m.
Okay, great. You've written 3 books: Prosperity Decoded, Comfort is an Enemy, Rule. I've read all 3 before we called you in. Why did you write these books? Are these books not additional books that, I've also written 3 books, or I've written this number of books? What is it supposed to do to the body of Christ? What is it supposed to do to humanity? Is it in line with God's vision?
Okay.
Yes.
Let me take it one by one, and I'll be very brief about it. The first, which is Prosperity Decoded. It seems as if there's prosperity everywhere. Everybody's talking about prosperity. But this book takes a look. If you look at the subtitle, it is Unveiling the Missing Link in the Current Prosperity Narrative in the Church. So the book is a surgical work. We're looking at what are we missing? Because if the prosperity we are preaching works like we are preaching it, we should have more millionaires in the church than in any institution in Ghana. But that's not the case. It's not the case because there is a missing link.
And you know that, no?
That's what the book seeks to provide, briefly, it's in 3 parts. We have the revelation of prosperity, that is part 1, the production of prosperity, and the distribution of prosperity. In the revelation of prosperity, we're saying prosperity is who you are before it becomes what you have. Prosperity is how you think before it is what you do. And so we're trying to rewire people's worldview about what prosperity is. So we don't equate prosperity to just the accumulation of things, but that you should prosper before. But I think the missing link really is in the production of prosperity and the distribution of prosperity. Many people, especially Christians, all they do about their prosperity is giving. And if all you do about prosperity is giving, then you will end up disillusioned and frustrated. Because it takes more than giving to prosper in the earth. And that's the main thought and thrust of the book. And then the second, which is...
I wish we had time to talk about.
Thank you. The second is Comfort is an Enemy. And Comfort is an Enemy goes to further emphasize that the trappings of wealth sometimes becomes a big problem. That is, many of us will exchange the problems of poverty for the problems of prosperity, because both poverty and prosperity have problems. The West is a classical example of a society which is afflicted with the problems of prosperity, and Africa is a continent that is afflicted with the problems of poverty. We want you to have success without exchanging problems. That's what God calls good success, So Comfort is an Enemy actually is saying, showing you how to leverage discomfort for global impact. And then finally, the third is Rule. Rule, the subtitle is Becoming an Extension of the Government of God on Earth. And in that book, we're showing any reader how they can become very productive, how they can reflect and represent God in any space they find themselves. So you are at work, you become the best version of yourself. You become such a transparent medium for God to flow through in terms of creative ideas, innovative thinking, new thinking, novel thoughts and concepts. You becoming a channel for God in that workplace. And these 3 books are contributing significant thought and knowledge in helping man become effective on the earth.
I saw them on Amazon.
Yes.
So if you are listening to us and you want any of these books or all the books, you can just go to Amazon, search William Burckson, and then I'm sure you would get it. But if would you mind giving your number if somebody wants physical copies?
Okay. Thank you very much. My number is 0201 300 400.
So 0201 300 400.
Yes.
So if you want any of the books, you can contact Pastor William Burckson on 0201 300 400. Let's wrap up on this. So we shouldn't think of balancing family and business, but we should see it as something that should be in harmony.
Yes.
And that's the argument you're putting today.
The argument I'm putting out today is because people have a traditional understanding of what balance. Balance is not equal portions. Balance is the right proportions.
Okay.
So if balance is the right proportions, then 20-80 is balance, 70-30 is balance, 60-40 is balance. Okay, so what we need to strive for is harmony and integration of the family and business, and not just trying to strike a balance between the family and the business. Because if you just start a business right now, you probably may be out there 90-80% of the time for a season. And you can agree with the family that, you know what, I'm in the initial stages of my business, I need to be there a lot more time. But because you have the buying of the family, they don't see that as a problem. So let's rather strive for harmony between family and business. Let's strive for integration between family and business, and not just the family and business balance.
It's difficult ending the show, but I would want you to tell our listeners that you come here again.
Thank you very much. I will. I will anytime I'm
All right. Thank you very much, Pastor William Burckson. Thank you. We've been looking at the subject of balancing family and business, and I think it's been very insightful. This program has been powered by Step Up Business School. My name is Charles Kenano, and it's proudly sponsored by Penfield School. It was difficult taking a break. Forgive me. We'll come your way again next week, and then we'll do it all over again. Thank you very much.